I'm usually okay until I start trying to talk.
Take your mask off.
I've been racking my brain about what to say, trying to figure out how you put how do you put into words the sum of a life? You know, and I started thinking to myself, what is the measure of a man? Once I get rolling, I'll be okay. Because I know my dad enjoyed the fullness of life, the joy and the sadness that comes with that experience. But what is the measure of a man? Is it his educational achievements? And my dad, while he was in the Marine Corps, I guess had some free time when he was overseas, serving our country in Vietnam and Okinawa. Decided they had correspondence courses from various local colleges, so he went to Los Angeles Community College, and he says, you know, I want to have a degree in police science. So he took all the police courses that they offered. And when he was done, without having the benefit of a counselor, he said, okay, when do I get my degree? And they said, well, you qualify for a post certificate, Peace Officer Standard and Training Certificate for the state of California, so you can be a California police officer if you want to, but if you want to have an associate's degree, you've got to take these other classes, this English and math and science, and the core courses. Yeah, he got through them. He finished that. He decided, okay, he wanted a bachelor's degree, and that's where he shifted into human resources management. Signed up at the Pepperdine University, and one of the memories that I have distinctly there is that he had to take a art class, a world art class, and so the family got to go to the Hirshhorn Art Museum in Washington D.C. And we each had our assignments because we didn't want to spend too long there because let's face it, it was pretty boring. But everybody got a little slip of paper, and it's like hey, you go find this, you go find this. When you find it, come back and get me, and we'll go look at it. Because then he had to write his a little synopsis of his impressions of those things. And we spent far longer than we should have taking and trying to find Running Man, and it turned out to be a picture or a sculpture of a guy laying prone on his anyways with wheels on him. Anyway. We found it. He got his thing. He eventually then decided bachelor's degree wasn't sufficient, so he signed up at Webster University and for a master's degree in human resource development and management. We as a family were all convinced my mother must have done his homework. That's no way. I mean, she is much more the cerebral academic of the family. So it's what we decided. Well, just before my dad passed, he told me, unbeknownst to me, well, and I guess what I ought to mention is I also went, based upon the example given to me, and I went and got a bachelor's degree at Wayland Baptist University in human services, and then I went and got a master's degree in business administration with a criminal justice specialization, trying to keep up with Dad. It's the example he set, and there was a little competitive nature going on there. But just before he passed, he told me, unbeknownst to me, he'd been working on his PhD. And, I knew better, but I knew what he was doing. He was basically saying, why'd you stop? And you'll notice some parallels with his life and mine. He was the role model that was set for me. So what is the measure of a man? Is it professional achievements? My dad, as you know, was the United States Marine Corps, 20 years. Spent the first 4 years as a military policeman. I went in the Army as a military policeman. He spent the last 16 years in what they at that time called data processing, which now would be IT, information technology. The times that I was able to go to work with him, they had computers that would, now one of these little laptops with the computers then would fill this entire room. They had big reel-to-reel tapes. They had IBM punch cards. And we were talking about this, he used to bring home some of the punch cards after they'd run whatever program they needed to, because they had they were a cardboard card about yay big. I guess it was more heavy paper stock, with different punch holes into them that the computer would read. Well, we would take and fold them into a kind of a point at one end, staple it, and he would take and put them on a round cardboard piece and spray painted gold or green or whatever, and make wreaths out of them, Christmas wreaths. I mean, it was something we did. It was fun. But yeah, he retired as an E9. For those that don't know, that's the highest enlisted rank that you can get. Enlisted officer. So at work they called him Top, and because he was the top of his field. Talked a little bit about living in Key West and Norfolk and Parris Island and Quantico and Vietnam and Okinawa, 29 Palms, California, and of course, Site R. Retired after 20 years, decided to get back into law enforcement. I was going to say his first love, but that was. So law enforcement was his second love. Served 33 years total, had a Master Peace Officer certificate, attended the FBI National Academy, retired as Assistant Police Chief in Alamo Heights here in the San Antonio area. After he retired from Alamo Heights, decided I'm not done. Went to work for the Constable's Office, Precinct 4 as a reserve officer. Did a little bit of time with the Texas Lutheran University Police Department. Finally hung up his spurs in 2015. Advice that he had for me. I've now been in law enforcement 35 years, so I got him pet beat on that one. But I spent my first 14 years at the Windcrest Police Department, and the last 19 I'm with the state of Texas. I'm a state police captain with the Comptroller of Public Accounts Criminal Investigation Division. What that means is I do tax fraud investigation. But his advice for me in law enforcement was, keep your mouth shut and do your job. It's worked well so far. I'm hoping anyways my chief's sitting in the back of the room. So what is a measure of a man? Is it the family? As a child, my dad was a very strict disciplinarian. He was responsible for the family. I remember one of my sisters, Tammy. When we lived on a military base, she, being a kid, was out on the sidewalk coloring stuff in with chalk, and somebody made a complaint. Yep. And my dad got called into the colonel's office about, why are you not controlling your family and what they're doing? And he said, I'm at work. So I learned what it takes to be the head of a family. Of course, what I heard most of the time was, put away my tools. I think I still have a hammer that belongs to him. But I learned that values are caught, not taught. He didn't tell me how to live, he just did it. Military families, we move all the time. My dad used this as a learning opportunity for the family, for the kids, to be able to see America. We had an opportunity to go to all the Smithsonian Institutes, specifically Air and Space Museum, Museum of Natural History. We were able to take and go look at the Washington Monument, go walk around the Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial. We got to see Mount Vernon, which is George Washington's. Monticello was Thomas Jefferson's. I mean, we went to all these places. Grand Canyon. We got to go to Disneyland several times, Knott's Berry Farm, King's Dominion Amusement Park in Virginia. He took me to battlefields in Gettysburg and Manassas. He was very much interested in the Civil War and passed that along to me. One of the memories I have, we talked about this, is that I had a teacher one time that called the family and said, hey, is there someplace that we can talk about you haven't lived? They got tired of me correcting their pronunciation of people and places. My dad's hobbies, I don't know if you noticed the saw in the back there. He painted that. He was an amateur painter. One of his first works, he wanted to try to do a lighthouse. It came out looking more like Darth Vader. But he got better, believe me. Like I say, the saw back there, he painted it, he liked it, but he said, oh, I can do better. And I said, no. So I snagged it away from him before he could paint over it. That's one of my mementos. He had a private pilot license issued by the FAA. You know, he would take and go get an airplane, take it up. You know, he was able to do that.
It was fun.
It was fun. You go with him.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about the time he almost ran out of gas, went down on a private field someplace. I had to get on the phone and say, "Bring me some gas." Yeah. Anyway, he also had ceramics as a hobby. If you notice those two little statues back there, we call those smileys. He bought those molds. He was able to make his own greenware. He would take in with the family's help, because you know I got I think $1 to scrape one down, and he went in and fixed every mistake that I made. But then he would paint them and sell them, and personalize them to whoever wanted them. You know, whether it was the military or police.
Which you and Mom both ended up doing too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, something else that we started doing. He was good-natured. We teased him relentlessly about certain words that he just mispronounced. And the family understands this. He would say Rockweiler instead of Rottweiler, or Chimley instead of chimney. Santa Claus came down the chimney. No, Dad. You know, he would look at the deers. No, Dad. Deers plural. He would have bathing suits. No, Dad. Bathing suits. And then, of course, there was the roller coasters.
Yeah.
Growing up in New York, this is the way some of these people talk, and I don't know. Not anymore. Okay, apparently not. I had to laugh that one time we were, you know, sitting, just another side memory here, we were at the house and had dinner, had Mom and Dad over, and we were tossing out some mashed potatoes that we didn't eat. And he was like, "No, I can make potato pancakes with those."
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, so that became a standing joke. You know, we used to get him potato pancake boxes for Christmas, so he could make his potato pancakes.
Yep.
But as an adult, he was my friend. He was my mentor and my role model. And along with others here, my breakfast taco buddy. The value of a life is measured by the lives it touches. And you know, we're his legacy. Dad enjoyed the respect and admiration of his friends, his family, and his colleagues. He loved the Lord. He loved this great nation. He loved the Marine Corps, his law enforcement brothers and sisters, and his family. He was a good Marine. He was a good cop. He was a great dad. I love him, and I'm going to miss him. Just wanted to say thanks to everybody who came today. Apologize the fact that because of COVID restrictions, we're not able to break bread afterwards and share that fellowship time. But definitely thank you.